The Hindenburg disaster. While the flight of the Hindenburg on May 6, 1937 was recognized to be a major media event, few would have guessed how important it would become or why. The Zeppelin had already safely completed its maiden voyage from Frankfurt, Germany to New Jersey, and the photographers gathered below at Lakehurst assumed that their work would be simple routine for the morning papers. When the ship caught fire, Murray Becker was one of the photographers on site to document the whole affair. 15 of his pictures tell a horror story and relate a tale reminding us of the dangers that come with humanity's desire to always fly a little higher than they were intended. Adolf Hitler's secret bunker. If you look at the staggering levels of human suffering caused by Adolf Hitler, it's hard to see him as anything other than an instrument of destruction and pain. If his supporters were to tell the story, he would be remembered differently. Hitler's public life was carefully curated, and most surviving pictures of him were designed specifically to foster the image he wanted to send to the rest of the world. If not for the enterprising spirit of photographer William van de Wert, that might still be the case. Van de Wert's photography of Hitler's bunker painted the story of a paranoid and desperate man left cornered and alone. Kathrine Switzer assaulted by officials at the Boston Marathon. Today, it may be hard to imagine an event as iconic as the Boston Marathon barring women from entry. But in 1967, nearly 50 years after the amendment granting women the right to vote was passed, the marathon was an all-male event, and officials enforced this rule aggressively. This photograph, taken by Boston Globe photographer Paul Connell, captures the shocking moment when an official physically accosts female runner Kathrine Switzer while her boyfriend tries to fend him off. The sense of movement in this image is phenomenal, but of equal import is what it says about the continuing struggle for gender equality. Switzer was the first registered female contestant to finish the race, but it would be another 5 years before the marathon was officially open to women. The chaos at Disneyland's opening day. Disneyland is an American landmark recognized throughout the world, and it has weathered the decades as one of the most popular international amusement attractions. But when Walt Disney devoted $17 million to the park's construction in the early 1950s, many saw it as a foolish errand. While television cameras dutifully portrayed opening day on July 17, 1955 as an organized and smoothly executed event, one photographer captured the reality behind the gala as overcrowded masses tried to find their way into the park. The day turned out to be a disaster. After almost triple the amount of people expected arrived, rides broke down, food ran out, and parts of the park had to be closed. Disneyland would eventually come closer to fulfilling its promise as the happiest place on Earth, but this is clear evidence that big ideas rarely go according to plan. The British Terra Nova Expedition, 1911. In 1911, photography was less than a century old, and the fundamentals were still being worked out. The need to carry bulky and unwieldy equipment may have made it seem like an impractical inclusion on Britain's dangerous Terra Nova expedition to the Antarctic, and many probably saw it as an unnecessary frivolity. But this stunning glacial photo by Herbert Ponting conveyed the unspoiled majesty of one of the few remaining frontiers at a time before the prevalence of handheld cameras and satellite photography. Even today, it's a marvelous sight.